Here are Drake Maye's numbers against Miami and where they rank in his short NFL career. He tied his completion percentage yesterday. Passing yards on Sunday, 7th highest in his year plus. Yards per attempt, total touchdowns, QB rating were either first or tied for first in his pro career. Mike Vrabel complimentary but not gushing about Maye's performance this morning.
That was hugely efficient. The ball went where it was supposed to go. He was decisive. I thought he did a great job of transferring into the pocket, up into the pocket, setting his depth and then transferring up, being really good with the football, being able to pull through with two hands in the pocket when they have, edge rushers and we're on the road. That's where it's going to be really critical, is to be able to set the depth of the pocket, get back, keep your eyes downfield, transfer up into the pocket and deliver the football. And he did that on multiple occasions.
All right, Phil, Tom, let's dive a little deeper into what the offense was able to do against Miami yesterday. We sort of skimmed the surface in the last block. We talked about his poise, confidence. Phil, but more specifically, what did you see from Drake Maye that he did yesterday that he was not able to do last Sunday?
Well, quick decision-making is the first thing that I come up with, and Tom referenced this off the top of the show. But according to Next Gen Stats, he had the football out of his hands in just a shade over 2.5 seconds, which was third fastest in the league for week 2. So the short passing game, the quick passing game, it was non-existent in week 1. He wanted layups. He was talking to us about layups versus three-pointers back in training camp in terms of what might settle him down early in games. Tom, this was a layup-filled type of game for him, and so you credit him for being able to make those decisions, but you credit the people putting the game plan together behind the scenes to give him those easy decisions to make.
And it's funny because after you hit the layups, you can start to hit some fadeaways on the baseline, which would be that throw to Kayshon Boutte, because he had developed some ability to understand that I'm going to have a pretty good day because he built that early confidence. I want to reference the thing that Vrabel's talking about with stepping forward in the pocket. Last week, he walked into a sack with Will Campbell having a guy sealed off, walked into that sack because he was a little addled. This stepping up in the pocket means he's getting to a depth and moving forward. It's something that Josh McDaniels, I think, really stresses. You can't set too far, and Hoyer does all the time. You can't set too far back because you screw your tackles, and then you're going to get whacked. And he had how many fumbles last year? 7? It was a lot. So there was the 2001 Super Bowl. At the beginning of the final drive, Tom Brady had a fumble problem the entire year. Mike Vrabel, of course, was on that team. Leonard Little, who's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL at that time, came around the edge. He hit Brady on either the first or second play of that drive, and Brady held it, stepped forward, hit Troy Brown. Those are the kinds of incremental progresses that need to be seen. And Maye made those. Why did he make them? Even why might he make them in the future? Because he's 23. He could still do that. But on this day, he took care of the little things and played efficiently, which is for the 3rd overall pick, regardless of age, regardless of how many offensive coordinators he has. That's the standard that they expect.
And I think you can play efficiently, Trenni, when you have command at the line, too. And so when I'm watching it, or when Ted Johnson and I are breaking down the most important plays in the game, what's happening before the ball is even snapped? You see a lot of directing traffic. You see a lot of conversation with the backs, with the line about who you need to make sure you have in pass protection. You have some alerting at the line of scrimmage because you sent somebody in motion and, okay, now we know man versus zone, this is the play that we want, and then you go out and execute thereafter. So to do that and do it on the road and do it when you are using silent count at times, when protection can be an issue just because you're in a foreign environment, that to me is a sign of growth too.
This feels, though, like a huge jump. Curran, like to go from what he looked like that last week to what he looked like this week, which looked like a more than competent NFL quarterback. Why was he able to look so different in just, you get what, 3 days essentially to make the adjustments?
Everything's temporary. We're going to have a good show tonight. We might have a bad show tomorrow.
Come on.
You're going to have a good round of golf. You're going to have a horrendous round of golf. Everything is temporary. It depends on how you feel that day. It depends on being in 2nd and 2 as opposed to 3rd and 8. It depends on whether or not your guy's getting toasted or the gap is covered, or whether you have a better safety on the other side. To me, there's so many different factors that will enter into it. What he has to do is minimize those small things that can be unforced errors, like what Vrabel's talking about with stepping up in the pocket, setting the spot, and figuring out how to go forward. That way you're not going to blow up a play all on your own that most people won't notice. So if he can get those little things out, then he can get to those good plays.
Speaking of little things that I think made a big impact in this game, I'll keep going back to it. the ability to run the football was the difference. That's the difference. And the difference when you're able to run the ball is about 6 inches between you as an offensive lineman and your teammate also on the offensive line. If you're trying to get a double team on a defender and you're 6 inches apart when you really should be shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, you're not going to get any movement when you're the same distance Tom and I are away from each other right now. You're going to get that movement when you close down that space and you use your power together to move people off the ball. It's this much. That's the difference in an easy game and a hard game for Drake Maye. So I give that offensive line and that coaching staff that works with those guys a lot of credit.
You've been bullish on Drake Maye from the start. Was yesterday, it wasn't obviously, I didn't feel like it was the ceiling. Was it the middle floor? Like, where were we in what Drake Maye is capable of? Where does a game like yesterday rank?
Well, I don't think it shows you the ceiling because I think what they asked him to do was not the maximum difficulty level that they could have asked him to do depending on the game and the situation. I think week 1, that was about as hard as it gets when you have to drop back 53 times. So not the ceiling, Tom, but given what he had to work with and what he was asked to do, in terms of a grade, I gave him an A. I don't know how you do much better outside of a couple missed throws and maybe some protection assignments that he could have helped on that led to sacks. I didn't see many flaws in his game on Sunday.
No, I mean, the ceiling for Drake Maye as opposed to, say, for instance, Mac Jones. Mac Jones had a game in 2023 where he was 22 for 25 for 280 and whatever, and they beat Buffalo, which was good, is good. So those things happen. That was his ceiling. Drake Maye's ceiling, for instance, Russell Wilson threw for like 458 yesterday. He's 30 whatever years old. Drake Maye should be able to, at some point in his career, be a guy who regularly could drop back and have a 4 or 5 touchdown game, throw for over 400 yards, be the best player in the National Football League once, 2, 3 times a year. That's what he should be able to do with the array of skills he has. So it's definitely not a ceiling, but whatever it is asked for on that day, can he provide it? And he delivered what he was asked for on this day, and he wasn't able to do that despite not a disastrous week 1. I mean, he still was 30 for 45. But, you know, this is delivering what you want, which is what Vrabel was addressing.
And I think part of the reason Drake Maye was able to be successful yesterday, Curran, is because Josh McDaniels, they may not have pared things down, but it certainly seems like they made it a more Drake Maye friendly style offense. Like, where were the biggest differences in how the game was called yesterday? We heard Phil talk about the run game, but it just seemed like the screenplays fit in better. He was under center more often. He wasn't always having to drop back and shotgun. Like, all those little things. Is that simplifying the game for him? Like, how did they adjust it?
If it works, it is. I mean, like, you can call a run on 1st and 10, and if you get 2 yards, or you can call a screen, and if it gets blown up, it's 3rd and 11, and the game's not going to be simple. If the first play works, the next play is going to flow from it. You can make it as simple as you want to if the play prior is successful. So to me, I don't think that Josh sat there and said, oh, we really got to fix this for him. He probably said, as he would have said in week 1, if we do this, it'll be an easy game. If we can't do it, if we end up in 2nd and 12, or if we have a false start, it's going to be a hard game.
2 things that I loved what Josh McDaniels did for this game plan and for Drake Maye to make it easier for him. Number 1 was their use of motion. They were near the bottom of the league in week 1 in terms of how often they used motion. And motion can help. Sometimes it's just a little bit of dressing to make a play look a little bit different than maybe it had earlier in the game. But for the Patriots and in this offense for years, it's always been helpful for quarterbacks specifically when it comes to identifying man versus zone. And so when you go from about 30% in week 1 to over 50% of Drake Maye's dropbacks featuring some sort of pre-snap motion in week 2, that to me makes it easier for him. The other thing that made it easier was this bootleg stuff that we saw. It was a West Coast style of offense through the first half. A lot of the same types of plays we saw last year with Alex Van Pelt, who's a Shanahan disciple. So when you look at the influence of this game plan, that to me is maybe where there's a person who's flown a little bit under the radar in terms of our consciousness when it comes to covering this football team, and that's Thomas Brown. He's the pass game coordinator in title. He's also the tight ends coach, but he comes from that McVay tree. He comes from a West Coast background. I don't think it's any coincidence. He's on the staff now, Tom, and you're seeing wide zone, and you're seeing bootleg passes for Drake Maye where he looks really fluid and really natural. This team knows that those bootleg plays need to be part of their offense with Drake Maye behind center, and they were able to execute on him on Sunday.
There was one cool thing, too, that is unrelated to that, but the Patriots are going to have to rely on their younger players. Maybe they weren't doing that as much in the first game. Maybe that was a victim of circumstance, but there was a play in the first half when Maye threw a screen in a high-leverage situation to Travion Henderson. Jared Wilson got out in front of that screen, delivered a block downfield to probably gain Henderson another 8 yards. Will Campbell had blocked down, but you have your second-year, third overall pick throwing to your second-round pick running back that people are high on, with your fourth overall pick tackle making a play and your rookie guard making a play. This team has to rely on those guys. That's why I keep saying everything is kind of temporary. You don't know how it's going to look last week, but those are 4 young guys in critical areas making a play that Josh is saying, well, these are my guys. Let's go get it.
Yeah, a couple of young guys also on the offensive line. You talked at the top of the show about they won because of Drake Maye, not just with Drake Maye. Did they win because of the offensive line, in spite of the offensive line, or just with the offensive
No, listen,
line?
when it comes to the run game, I give them a ton of credit. If they're not able to get the push that they were able to get, Drake Maye's life becomes more difficult. We're not talking about Drake Maye having the best game of his young career to this point. So I think they won in part because of the offensive line. And Tom's right to bring up the 2 rookies especially. How often have we talked about Will Campbell's short arms, by the way, over the course of 2 weeks?
Zero
And I know it's
so far.
2 weeks, and Tom's got me thinking, it's ringing in my ears now. Everything's temporary. Everything's temporary. So let's not stamp him as a future All-Pro just yet. But it's been 2 weeks, and it's been pretty damn good aside from a couple false start penalties for the 4th overall pick.